Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, May 22nd. It's about 9:30 in the morning. I'm having trouble uploading the NBA video that's supposed to be up for tomorrow, but we're going to break down this 10-game slate, the night slate. I know there's an afternoon slate, but I might do that on a live stream after this, kind of talk about that a little bit. But we're going to break down the 10-game slate. It is the more main of the slates. There's some big prize pools on the early 4-game slate, but I thought this one would be better to discuss for the MLB. So welcome to the channel if you're new here, making these MLB videos as much as I can as of late. Going to be doing the MLB videos pretty much for the most part, day in and day out, moving forward now. So there's a great chance you're new here. If you're not, welcome back to the returning subscribers. Hit me with a like button. Appreciate you guys and girls so much. And if you are new here, welcome to the channel. I do this. I cover daily fantasy sports, NBA, golf, MLB right now. NFL is coming. WNBA will also be coming. I have a projection sheet for the WNBA. Just have to figure out early season what some things look like changing. But yeah, lots of things to break down. I'll break down the MLB early in the day. This is how I kind of do it. I don't really look in. I don't know what the lineups are. You can look at Vegas for the projections in terms of the run differentials. Those are sure to change by the time lock comes. Maybe not drastically for a lot of them, but some of them will. And I just don't know what the lineups are. I don't know, is there a guy that I'm going to get value? Like a Josh Reddick being number 1 in the order yesterday, I think it was, out of nowhere. Or just some guys that are moving up in the lineups change. I don't know what I'm looking at for lineup construction until I have at least the majority of those lineups. So all I could really do is look at the probable pitchers, look at some spots that I like, figure out that, and then I can get an idea based on if I like expensive pitchers, if there's cheap options, where I'll be going with lineup construction. And really, for me, 80%, 75% of my DFS stuff is breaking down into the pitchers. And then realistically, it's like 10% finding stacks. And a good amount of the rest of that is getting lineups to actually work. So maybe those numbers aren't totally correct. But the point is, pitchers are the biggest piece of the puzzle in terms of finding players. And then obviously lineup construction is huge. But for me, bats really aren't that important because it's really easy for me to identify one stack that I like, whether it's a 4-3-1, whether it's a 5-1-1, 5-2-1, 5-3, whatever it is. It becomes a lot easier once I have my pitchers in place that I feel comfortable with to understand how much salary I have left. So let's break down into this. There's 10 games, 20 teams playing. You can kind of cross off 2 options right away. I have them in red right down here. Montana for $4,000. And I think it's Rin Stanek for $5,000. These guys are just probable pitching starters, so like 1 to 2 innings. You don't want any of that. So for Tampa Bay, Yanni Chirinos, he's going to be coming in for Stanek, so might pitch 3-4 innings. He's $7,800 though, so you're not going to be paying that much money for a guy who has really no upside there. Pittsburgh hasn't announced who their long reliever is going to be, so again, a guy who's going to pitch probably 3-4 innings. So I'm not even going to worry too much about projecting that because I don't really want to pick from that. So you're down to 18 pitchers in a range. And if you've been watching me, yesterday was a very, very, very painful sweat. Finished 6th in the Fantasy Baseball World Championship qualifier. Finished 23rd in the $88. And I had all of the power to move up. I had Albert Pujols late. Nobody else ahead of me had any run. I lost by 10 in both of them. I mean, I still won money, but winning the whole thing, lost by 10. Pujols throws up a 0. So pretty much if Pujols hits a home run, I win it all. I'm here today, a totally different man, have a Fantasy World Championship qualifying ticket. If Pujols just gets me a double and a single, something, I mean, at least make more money, but needed 10 points, he goes for 0. The thing that hurt the most is the guy on the opposite side, the other team, same position, and I could have gotten to him. Marwin Gonzalez goes for 25. You make that pivot, you win it all, but you can't really, hindsight's 20/20, right? But really good lineup yesterday for me, really good day in baseball, and it just was that close to being an incredible day. But the reason I bring that up is I went to Sonny Gray, whose strikeout stuff had been becoming better, who Christian Yelich was out of the lineup, scratched, and it made it a lot easier for 6,700 for me to get there. I don't usually go down to that range, but I thought it was viable. I'm usually a guy who floats in the high range with one pitcher and then finding a guy in that 8K range if possible. If not, I'm fine going to expensive pitchers and finding value with my bats. So yesterday, Sonny Gray in the 6,700 range, I think there's 1 to 2 potential options. I have to work through it later in the day on the cheaper end range below 7K. I don't really think there's any options in the 7K range. There's decent options in the 8K range, and then obviously this is a very top heavy 5 guys or 4 guys in that 10,000 plus range. So let's start with the upper tier. We'll get to the bottom tier, and then I'll break down the middle tier because that's pretty much where a lot of this is going to come down to. So let's get into it. And starting with Gerrit Cole. Gerrit Cole, the more I think about it, is probably my favorite pitcher on this slate. The strikeout stuff is just incredible. Decent park matchup. We had his teammate Justin Verlander dominate this matchup yesterday against the Chicago team that's striking out above league average. They're striking out 28.5% of the time. League average is around, 24, 25% of the time. And he's playing extremely well, and he's getting unlucky, believe it or not. His ERA is 3.56, and his Sierra, which is a better indicator of how you're pitching, is 2.54. You could also use xFIP or FIP. I like to use Sierra. So the differential is 1. That's a huge differential. That means he's getting pretty unlucky, actually. So the guy's pitching great, averaging over 25 fantasy points per game right now. And he's getting unlucky against a team that really has no ISO. A favorable matchup relative to the slate. It's an above average one in terms of his opponent having no power, isolated power. They strike out a ton. The park factor is beneficial for the pitchers slightly. And yeah, his strikeout stuff is just great. If you want to give knocks to him at all, it would be that he's not getting a ton of ground balls, but a lot of that is just due to elevated strikeout stuff, which we're not complaining about in fantasy. Not getting hit hard, not a team that's going to hit him hard. He's $12,000. That's the only thing. On DraftKings, he's $12,000, and you have other top-tier options that are $1,000 to $1,500 to $2,000 less. So when you're constructing a lineup, is $12,000 worth it? I prefer, if I can get my lineup in, and I have to see what the lineups look like, getting to Gerrit Cole. It makes it's no surprise. He's the most expensive guy. Hopefully ownership comes off of him. Let's get into these next two guys who are going up against each other, Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom. deGrom, after playing Miami for like the third time this year, they finally got to him. He pitched extremely bad, not great, but he's still obviously a great pitcher. The problem is these guys are facing each other, even though the salaries are up there. Like, it's going to be hard to get to either of them, let alone both of them. So you really don't have to worry about having to choose or wanting to play both, because playing both obviously limits your win upside for both of them. You're automatically giving up 4 points there. I've talked about it before. But they're just so expensive that I find it hard for you to get there. Really, you're picking one guy in this 10K range. I doubt you can get to two of them. I, again, will be picking Gerrit Cole if I can afford him. But $1,500 less, $1,500 left for Jacob deGrom, that's interesting. Both of these guys are pitching in a favorable ballpark here. They're pitching in Citi Field, one of the best pitchers' ballparks on the slate, or is the best pitcher ballpark on the slate, one of the best in the league. So that's definitely a big bump. Obviously, both of their matchups are a little bit more difficult than this Chicago one, or maybe that's not obvious, but Jacob deGrom against Washington. Yeah, Washington has at least average isolated power. When you go to the Mets, theirs is going to pop as if it's not that great. And with Michael Conforto out, it's actually probably not that great. This is not the same lineup they've had all year, but Michael Conforto is not out. Peter Alonso, another home run yesterday. That guy is just absolutely crushing. I think he's got 16 already. Oh my God, it's just incredible. We're in May. Oh my God. But this is a nicer matchup for Scherzer. The price indicates that for $600 more. It's just an easier spot for him. He's going to walk a little bit less than deGrom will be walking here. He just doesn't give up home runs at all, although this ballpark, I'm not too concerned with that. In terms of just isolated power, lefties will have some against him. So again, Conforto being out of the lineup is a little bit of a bump there for him. Righties, he actually limits a little bit more than Jacob deGrom will, which is better for this ballpark. So if you're telling me to pick between those two in the same game, it's going to be Scherzer. The price indicates that. Getting down to Rich Hill is something I'm not going to be getting to. Tampa Bay is a team that actually has some isolated power. They strike out less than the teams above that are going to be going against these upper tier pitchers in Cole, Scherzer, and deGrom. So that's not really attractive for me. He's getting crushed, Rich Hill, actually against righties. There's some righties that are going to be loaded up in this lineup, although he does limit lefties. His strikeout percentage is decent, but again, not that great compared to a guy who's $300 more in Jacob deGrom, or I'd rather even pay all the way up for a Scherzer or a Cole. So I think Hill gets low ownership. If you want a tournament pivot, it's definitely there, but it's not one that I think is optimal. So that is your top tier. That is your $10,000 and above. I prefer Gerrit Cole, and then if you don't want to go there, I prefer Max Scherzer over Jacob deGrom. Just a little bit of a better matchup. And the place where he would get hit would be more so with lefties. And when you're getting a guy in Conforto, the middle of that Mets order, still out of the lineup, who's a lefty, that's obviously a benefit. So that's where I go with the top end. Let's go down into this bottom end tier. Usually, people are going to ask, where's your $6,000 dart or your 7K or below dart? 6,000 and below, you can't go there. You just can't. Two of the guys, 6,000 or below, there's only 5 options, but 2 of them are just guys who are going to pitch 2 innings, so you can't go there. If you want to get to a Von Nova against Houston and just throw your dart at $4,400, a guy who's $4,400, I'll go for it. The guy just gave up 8 runs in his last game in 3 innings, 9 hits or whatever it was. So that's not great. Von Nova, the worst possible matchup for him. I'm not going there. Dan Straley against the Yankees, a guy who has no strikeout stuff, literally 0 strikeout stuff, especially against righties. And these Yankees don't strike out at all. Similar for Houston. They don't strike out at all. They have a ton of power. The Yankees having decent power here as well, above average power, and they have a ton of righties in their lineup too. So these are not matchups that you say, oh, they're 4,800, they're 4,400. all you really want from them is 15 points. Can their team get a lot of runs and they just secure a win and just pitch into the fourth without getting obliterated, get 2 Ks? So I understand for 4,400 and 4,800, it's going to be tempting because these aren't 2 pitching or 2 inning pitching guys. These are guys who, if they're pitching well, we'll go 4, 5, 6 innings. Dan Straley has only gotten into the 5th inning twice this year, so that's not attractive, or finished 5 complete innings twice this year. And again, he has no strikeout stuff, so he's priced there for a reason. I don't go there. If you really want to take a dart, throw it at Ivan Nova, but he's facing Houston, a team that doesn't strike out and has a ton of power. So yeah, below 5K or below 6K is not viable. The only other option is Matt Harvey against Minnesota, who has the highest combined team ISO on the slate. They are a bottom 3 team on the slate in striking out. That's not good. Matt Harvey's strikeout stuff is completely down. He just gets hammered from lefties, really both sides of the plate, but mainly lefties. Minnesota's going to have some lefties in that lineup, the heart of the order also. Yeah, Matt Harvey, not another guy that you want to be testing. This is why these guys are cheap. Again, you could throw your dart with one of them. They're facing some of the most potent teams in Houston, Minnesota, even New York right now. Just New York has been absolutely on fire. Gerrit Sánchez, 8 home runs, I believe, in the last 9 games. Gleyber Torres lighting it up in the last 4 games, just ridiculous. So that's not what you want to be playing around with. So the bottom tier, I could X them all out. For NBA, I put black. I blacklist them, I guess you can say. I just put a black highlighter across them. Do that for everybody below 6K, honestly. Getting into this upper tier range, 7K or below, I think there's some options here, or 7K to the 6K range. And it's pretty much the matchup between Detroit and Miami. These are both teams that don't have the greatest ISO, especially in terms of power, especially Miami. We saw Brian Anderson, and I stacked them yesterday. He hit one out, but you're going to get one guy hitting a home run on that team every 10 days. So that's not good power. So that's Miami. They're going to strike out a good amount. Then you have Detroit, who again doesn't have great power. Miggy Cabrera is their 4-hitter, and that man is a singles hitter now, and they strike out a ton. So Jose Urena and then Daniel Norris become options for me below 7K. Urena only $6,200. Look, these are not spectacular pitchers by any means, but they're cheap if you want to try and fit something in and hope that they can get you. One of them probably is going to get a win today. Unless it's just a bullpen type of win game, but one of them has a good upside of getting a win. And I'd probably lean on Daniel Norris. Actually, I have to look into this more. Daniel Norris obviously has the better matchup because Miami is just that dreadful, no power at all, where at least you have some power in this Detroit lineup going up against Urena, whether it's Chris Stewart, whether it's Nick Castellanos. You have something there. If it's Nick Goodman leading off, there's some pop there at the top of the order. But Jose Urena and Daniel Norris, I actually would consider. I don't want to be going to Cole Irvin. I know that he's pitched well in his limited outings, but he's going up against Chicago today. He's gotten extremely lucky if you look at his SIERA to his ERA. You can throw him out there in a tournament, but I don't feel comfortable with it at all. Again, lots of small sample sizes here, but it's a terrible park factor for him. A team that has the 3rd highest ISO on the slate today, and they strike out around league average, so you're not getting anything extra there, and he's not a guy who's going to strike out batters. So Cole Irvin's not in for me. It's Urena, it's Daniel Norris because they're going up pretty much because of their opponents here in the same matchup. They have a favorable or around an average for this slate park factor. I got to look into it more to see who I like more. They're pretty much similar in terms of strikeout rates. Daniel Norris might be a little bit higher. He's pitching decent this year, and now he gets a really good matchup against Miami. I think he might get a little popular, but we'll have to see. Just because of that Miami matchup, people like to target it. And what you're looking for there below 7K is a guy to go 5 or 6 innings, pick up 4 to 5 Ks, and not get lit up and potentially get the win and score 20 fantasy points, and you are feeling really good. 7K range, nobody's in play. Yanni Chirinos, he's 7,800. He's going to be coming in as a long relief pitcher. Even if he goes 4 or 5 innings, that's way too much for that price. CC Sabathia has nothing left in the tank. I love him. I'm a Yankees fan. He's good for the playoffs, and that's really why he's on this team, to be a guy who has veteran experience in the playoffs, be maybe a long reliever in the playoffs. But he's not great. He's getting extremely lucky. The ERA at 2.97 is the luckiest on the slate right now. His SIERA is 5.22. He's walking too many batters. He's giving up almost 2.5 home runs a game, just getting obliterated hard hit percentage, no ground balls, no fly ball. Everything about Sabathia is terrible. He's going to explode. So in terms of stacking against Sabathia, yeah, I'm liking Baltimore today. A good deal. The only issue is the Yankees bullpen is actually really good. So once you get into that, if you're going to get Sabathia out early, the Baltimore stack loses its upside, but at least early on, because he's just giving up fly balls and getting hit hard, so that's where the home runs are coming from. He's not getting ground balls. He's not striking anybody out, around a 17% strikeout rate. That's actually pitiful. And I guess if you want to target Sabathia from one side of the plate, you don't have to. His ISO is 0.22 to lefties, 0.23 to righties. He's just getting hit everywhere. His opponent, though, the only nice thing is they don't have a ton of pop, this Baltimore team. It's pretty much Mancini at the top of the order. Guys have been playing a little bit better as of late, but it's really just Mancini that you're scared of. So maybe if you want to go one-off, I do like Mancini a good amount today against Sabathia. And I like these Baltimore Orioles just in general. Park factor, a little bit of a pitcher's ballpark. This team doesn't strike out. Sabathia is not in play. Aaron Sánchez against Boston, terrible park factor. Guy has been pitching a little bit well if you consider he's not giving up a ton of hard hit contact and a ton of hard hit fly balls. Strikeout percentage, decent for what his price point is. Nothing spectacular. But I don't want him against the Boston Red Sox today. So the 7K range is not in play for me. Two guys in the 6K range. And then really, it's going up to this upper tier. I like Gerrit Cole. You have this 8 to 9K range here. Guys that I am liking, I think Rick Porcello's in play. The ballpark's obviously scary. He's going up against a team, though, that strikes out a ton, 29.5%. I think that's going to attract a lot of attention here. So if the ownership gets too high, I'm fine getting away from it. Toronto doesn't have a ton of ISO this year, doesn't have a ton of pop. He's not getting hit hard. The only issue with Porcello is his strikeout stuff is just completely down. He's a guy who is more of a safe play here, but he's $8,200. Is it smart for me to pay $8,200 for a safe play, or should I just take the risk with Daniel Norris or Jose Urena for $1,500 to $2,000 cheaper? Because Porcello being safe, he still has a 4.8 ERA. He's still walking a good amount of batters. He's still giving up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. He's safe in terms of he's not getting hit hard. He's not getting hit hard consistently, so he'll give up a home run or something, but he's just not getting blown out of the water. He's going up against a team that makes him a safer play, but when you factor in the ballpark, when you factor in he's not getting strikeout upside, which is what we need for fantasy, we need him at 8,200 to get you 6 strikeouts. I don't feel confident that he's going to do that. So yeah, 8,200 Porcello is a fringe play for me in tournaments, but I'm not really feeling great about that either. So really, I'm leaning on this upper range for pitchers and trying to throw a dart at a Daniel Norris or a Jose Urena right now. If I want to talk about Max Fried, he's fine against San Francisco, a team that doesn't have a ton of pop, but a team that doesn't strike out that much. He's very meh to me. He might be in some of my player pools. Martin Perez, I don't want any of that against this Angels team. I get it. He's been good. His ERA is showing that he's getting really lucky, though. Third highest in terms of being lucky, or fourth, right around third and fourth. Fourth highest in terms of being lucky. Now he goes up against this LA team with a ton of upside. And here's the thing. They don't strike out. 17.4% K rate. This team doesn't strike out. Where are you going to get outs for Martin Perez in terms of upside? At 8,700, a guy who has decent strikeout stuff, has really improved this year and really not giving up a ton of power. But now you're facing a team that has power, and you're facing a team that doesn't strike out. So that's just not a great matchup for Martin Perez. I'm not going there. Jon Gray is an option at 9,200 that I do like if you wanted to pay up in 2 spots and just go cheap with bats. Jon Gray has been getting a little bit unlucky this season. Part of that is just the ballpark that he pitches in when he's at home for Colorado. 3.99 Sierra compared to a 4.73 ERA. That's pretty good, showing that he's getting a lot more unlucky than it seems. The downsides for him, though, is that he just can't keep guys off base. He has the fourth highest walk percentage on the slate, tied for the 4th highest with CC Sabathia. That's not great, 9.9%. Giving up 1.69 home runs per game. That's not great. The extra loss on DraftKings, and I believe FanDuel, for giving up home runs, not great at all. Getting hit pretty hard. But a lot of ground balls, still has the strikeout stuff, especially against righties, which is what you're going to see a good amount of in this Pittsburgh lineup, especially the heart of the order once again. Guys, though, giving up a lot of power. The only thing that makes him interesting is this is a good pitcher's ballpark on this slate, and he's going up against a team that doesn't have a ton of pop. So when you put a team that doesn't have a ton of pop in a good pitcher's ballpark, it bodes well for guys at least a little bit better who are giving up a lot of power. So I'm fine if you get to Jon Gray at 9,200. I'm not convinced by it. He is like my 6th, 7th favorite option on this slate. If that, probably 7th or 8th at 9,200. He probably goes unowned. I think that I'd rather, actually looking into it more, get some one-offs from the Pittsburgh side. Really, either side of the plate is dominating him in terms of ISO, although keep in mind this is not a very good lineup for ISO for guys with pop. Maybe you go to a Josh Bell one-off or something along those lines. So you can go Cole Hamels revenge game. I'm not going to get there. We already talked about Rich Hill. So that's the breakdown. There's nothing below 6K. In the 6K range itself, I am fond of Daniel Norris and Jose Urena. I'm going to be picking one of them. Might have 2 of them in a player pool. See who grades out better, who I like more. Probably be Daniel Norris, just because Miami has been dreadful. But I usually like stacking Miami because they are so cheap. So if I get to a lot of stacks in Miami, 3-man stacks at the top of the order, and that means I'm probably going to get to more Urena. So Gerrit Cole, the guy I like up top, then Max Scherzer, and then Jacob deGrom in the order of pricing. That's just how I like it. And then if I had to go, it'd be the cheaper end. I like stacking against CC Sabathia today. He's been absolutely dreadful. Can't strike guys out, giving up a ton of power. If you're not stacking against him, Trey Mancini very well probably hits a bomb today. Been on fire as of late, and this is the perfect matchup for him. In terms of other stacks, I got to see what the lineups look like, but that's just what I'm at right now. Thank you guys. Thank you girls so much. Let me know what you think of the video. These MLB videos slowly gaining more traction as I put them out more. People noticing my name in the MLB streets. So if you're new here, let me know down below. If you watched the whole video, let me know down below. My name's Sal. Best of luck. Peace out, gang.